Now, so Karthik has a file, and in this file itself, he has more columns than this, but this is sanitized. So there is, in a way, safe, all right, to use. Now, in this file itself, one of the biggest problem he has is each row itself contains many points in terms of different committees. So each candidate here in each account here, he has many committee assignment, right? Involved in many committees. So he wants, now, if he wants to actually group them into different committee, it becomes very difficult because it is like one of the items within the cell of a group of all items. So the best way to do this is to break these committees, for example, this one, into different rows. So for example, number one, LKM committee should be one row by itself. Number two, another row. Number three, another row. So each one should have a row by itself in order to manage and to maybe filter, search for the items. Okay, so this is one of the challenge that he faced. All right. Now, how do we then split this information up? Okay. You can combine any of the Power Query tools that you used before. You can even get data from folder if you have multiple files of this type. But I'll make it simpler. So first, close this file. Okay. Okay. Instead of closing the file, there's another way to work with. All right. Open the file again. Now, the way I'm going to show you is not the usual way of pulling the file. It is more to work with hands-on info. Okay, so how do you then break up this item 1 to 7 into different rows and associate with an SOE account? Now, the rest of the information may be important, but is not so critical because it can be merged later on together with the file. So the main thing is you need a link to do the merge. So I will be pulling the data from SOE account and say column G, the project committee account over here. So the first step to do this, to do Power Query, is to go to the Insert tab, convert this to a table. All right, so go to table here. Okay, they will range up the number of columns that you have, no matter how many, and in terms of rows. So tons of rows here. Let me go to the last row. Okay, and it ends here. So I actually would look up for the ending point to make sure every row is covered. There's no empty rows in between that may stop halfway, right? The selection. My table has headers. Click OK. And once you convert this, this becomes a table, and the table design. Okay, you don't see the change in table because I think it has been preset with some formatting. Okay, so if I do a Control A, and I can go to Home, and let me clear the no fill. This is the more correct view of the table. Just now was because it has been pre-formatted with colors. All right. So in the table itself, this will be the header, and alternate rows should be data for alternate rows should be colored with a different color. All right. Done that. Okay, so what we can do is, if you do normal Excel, it could be done, but it's a lot more challenging. So Power Query gives you additional function which allow you to do this very easily. Okay, so let's jump into this. Now, once you create this into a table, you can go to data. This option I usually do not use because I we won't recommend you put the data source as part of the file to pull inside a Power Query. I'll always recommend putting the file as a separate file and you actually extract it from that file itself. But for the purpose of this case, I just want to show you it can be done as well. All right. Right. Now, so from here, we go to from table and query. And once you click onto that, they will go into Power Query as well. And this is exactly what you see inside the table. All good? Okay, now I am not interested in the other column, so I'll select the link column to link to other data later on. Then I will want to split the data in the project column here. So I'll press the Control key and select this column as well. So I'll select these two columns and use remove other columns to remove the rest because I only choose two columns to clean up. So remove other columns, I'm left with these two columns with the SOE account. Okay, now in order to split the different lines into different rows, you cannot have a sample. Usually you don't want a sample which says nil because nil means there's nothing to put, right? There's nothing to split. So first thing first is to click onto this one, remove all the null record. And the nil record, there should be one that also says nil. Okay, if you find it too long, you can go to the search, type in NIL, and it'll show you there are 4 types of different nil. The way it spells, big cat, small cat, all will be captured here. So you can uncheck them. All right, and click OK. And now you will see that this rows set only comprises solid data, empty rows. So that's one function that you have in Power Query. So far, so good? Okay, now then how do you split this? Now in Excel, we have a text to column. So one column of data can be split into multiple columns, right? That's the typical Excel text to column function. I hope you have used it before somewhere, somehow. Okay, this is the advanced version. So where did it come from? You go to the transform tab, select the column that you want to split. All right, and you have a split column here. Click on it, and you want to split by delimited. So when you click onto it, it will pop up a screen to say, what is your delimiter? Now, delimiter is a separator. So in a CSV file, the delimiter is a comma. Now, in the European side, the CSV file is a semicolon. Okay, so there are different ways to split the file, but I'm not going to use any of this here. I'm going to go into advanced option, and instead of splitting them into multiple columns, I'm going to split them into multiple rows. So if you go to the advanced option, you can say split into rows. So you need to check that box. Okay. Now then in the character here, I'm going to use a custom delimiter. I need to change this. Instead of space, I'm going to use a custom delimiter. And once you turn this to custom, you can then activate the last option here, split using special characters. Okay, check the box. And they'll allow you to insert special characters. Pretty easy over here. Only thing you need to understand is how Excel behaves. All right, and this is something that normally you wouldn't understand until you've seen it before. So insert these special characters. There are different ways. Now, in a cell, when you put the description into multiple rows within a cell, it is called a line fit. It's just that you hit the alternate enter key, it goes to the next line. So it's actually a split line, and we call that a line fit. Okay, so use this line fit, and you'll see that the code comes out here. The custom code comes out the split over here. Okay, so once you do that split itself and set the condition, click OK, and you will see that this count itself, the 7 committee will be split into 7 different rows from one cell. So nicely, as long as there is a return of that split. Okay, now it's not perfect. Some of the files, some of the input there could be continuous. There's no line fit. So once you don't have, you will not be able to split nicely. Okay, so far, so good. Right now, the other thing is it is number 1 to 7, 1 to 8, 1 to different numbers. So I also want to get rid of the numbers. Now I can I will need to go to the add column and use a new column to remove the numbers. So go to add column here. And this is a very powerful function, right? It's called column from examples. Click onto the option here, and they'll give you column 1. Okay, sorry, let me cancel. Go to column from selection. That will be easier. So column from selection here, they will take this project committee column. Now, then in column 1, all you need to do is to type in LKM committee without the number. Hit the enter key, and then they will give you in gray boxes what will be the outcome for the rest of the other rows. So you notice that the 2, 3, 4, 5 all are removed. You like the results, then you click OK, and now all of them will come without numbers. Okay, so once you have done it, the beautiful part is you can take the header, copy the header, all right, delete this column, the original one, and then rename this column back to the same header. Okay, you can only rename part of it. So let's say I change it to project committee. Enter. And once done, you can go to home, close, and load to. And in this case, I want to go into a new worksheet. I don't want to sheets here. And I'm going to choose to go into table because this is just part of the data cleaning part. Actually, rightfully, everything can continue with a combination merge to get the outcome and then create the report out of it from a pivot table. But if you just want to do a cleanup and do a merge later on, you can choose a table, new worksheet, click OK. And now you'll see the 2 columns will be output here based on the SOE account and the committee. And each one will have 1 row by itself. So this is one of the functions of Power Query. And I asked Kati to share this because it is a unusual scenario, but it is going to be very useful. I just want to share with you the different possibility and the power of Power Query in this case.